Hello, everyone, and welcome to the SavvyCast. This is Jamie, and I'm thrilled that you're joining us today. I have the most adorable and fun guest today, and those of you who live in and around Birmingham will probably recognize her name and her face immediately. My guest today is Ashley Gann. She is the Chief Meteorologist of CBS 42, and she's currently the first and only chief meteorologist in the Birmingham area. She is a doting mother of 4. She is a graduate of Auburn University, where she was recently named Auburn's top 20 alumni under 40. And she graduated with a degree in aerospace engineering from Auburn and continued on to receive her master's in meteorology from Mississippi State. I am thrilled to have Ashley on today. She's going to be so much fun to converse with. So without further ado, I would like to welcome to the SavvyCast, Ashley Gann. Ashley, thank you so much for being here today and joining me on the SavvyCast.
Well, it's great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Okay, Ashley, I want to start with my typical icebreaker question for all SavvyCast guests. What would you choose as your last meal?
Ooh, okay. I love to eat, but I would have to say a good bowl of shrimp and grits would be my last meal, and also with a side of some fresh scallops. I'm a seafood girl. So yeah, and I'm a Southern girl, so it mixes both of them together.
Okay, I love that. We're birds of a feather. Those
Okay.
are two of my favorite things. Shrimp and
Awesome.
scallops. So, okay, that leads me to, where did you grow up, Ashley? You said you're a Southern girl. I can tell by your accent, like mine.
Yeah, well, so I was actually born in Fort Worth, Texas, and ended up moving to Georgia in middle school. So I say I was born a Texas gal, raised a Georgia peach, and then ended up in Alabama. And I've actually spent most of my adult life in Alabama, as I went to undergraduate at Auburn, went to grad school at Mississippi State. And really, we've started to put our roots down here in the great state of Alabama. And this is home.
Okay, well, I went to Auburn. When were you there, Ashley?
I was there in the early 2000s.
Okay, I know you're younger than I am, but I saw, and congratulations, you were recently, I saw it on Instagram, and then I see it here in your bio. You were recently inducted into Auburn's top 20 alumni under 40. Oh my goodness.
Yes.
That's awesome. There are so many talented Auburn people. That is an honor.
Trust me, when I received the email, I was dumbfounded. I was truly humbled. And to your point, there are so many magnificent people that qualify for this top 20. And I was shocked that they chose me to be amongst that group. It was just really neat. It's the inaugural class too. So it's just special. It's super meaningful. And I mean, I bleed orange and blue. My mom is an Auburn grad. I'm a legacy. And, you know, hopefully out of our 4 kids, a couple of them will end up Auburn fans too.
Oh, surely they will. I have,
you know, I'm married a Georgia Bulldog, so we have a house divided.
Oh my, okay. So, okay. And I have to tell everyone, Ashley and I, we had crossed paths several times at some events where you were the keynote, either the speaker or you were the moderator. But we recently, I just found out that we do Iron Tribe together, like the CrossFit type thing. So I've seen you with your husband. How tall is your husband? I'm going to guess. I told Zane, I said, Zane, he's got to be close to 7 feet.
He's 6'6", so he's halfway there.
He is. Did he play basketball?
Through high school, he did.
Okay. Y'all are such a beautiful couple. Your children, the ones that I've seen, are precious, and what a sweet family. And you're so talented. And in my intro, I told all of my Birmingham followers that they've probably not only seen you on TV, they're probably huge fans. You are the Chief Meteorologist of CBS 42. So I'm sure you're very well connected to people, especially in inclement weather. A lot of people are glued to the TV. So let's just start there. Your degree was in aerospace engineering, and then you went to Mississippi State to get a master's in meteorology. What prompted that?
Yeah, so I really think as a young child growing up in Texas, I had a real respect for Mother Nature. We dealt with a lot of severe weather growing up. I wouldn't say I ever had a fear, but I was always very involved whenever there was inclement weather. I would always watch our local TV stations. And there was actually a female broadcast meteorologist when I was growing up in Fort Worth. She's one of the first female chief meteorologists in the United States, and she was there in Dallas. And I really, honestly, even at that age, I didn't think any different. I just watched her. She was great. So put a pin in that. Fast forward through the years, I kind of academically really enjoyed math and science, and then went on to graduate from high school and wanted to pursue weather. And it's actually something that I decided when I was in middle school. So we moved from Texas to Georgia, and I was in 6th grade, and I went to space camp in Huntsville. And while
Alabama Space and Rocket Center.
That's right. So they have a near and dear place in my heart, because while I was there, I took a couple of electives. And at the end of space camp, somehow it came up, and I said, Mom, I know what I want to do when I grow up. And she probably thought I was going to say be an astronaut after going to space camp, which was my fallback plan, and still is. But I have to learn Russian. So that's a whole nother conversation.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah.
But I said, I want to be a meteorologist. And she said, well, why? And I said, well, I solidified my love for math and science at space camp, but I also solidified my love for talking. And I said, Mom, it's the only job I can do where I can get paid to talk about science all day long. So it's kind of started out as a little bit of a funny, but I really started to study it in Atlanta. The Weather Channel's based out of Atlanta. So I had some opportunities to meet some meteorologists along the way, shadow some folks there. And then I ended up going to Auburn, where they did not have a meteorology program. So I did still enjoy like atmospheric science and space and all of that. So I landed in aerospace engineering. And I thought, okay, if I finish this and I still want to do weather, I'll just go get my master's. And that's what I did. And I used to always say, and I still say it, if the whole weather gig doesn't work out, then I can always fall back on being a rocket scientist. But so far, 17 years in, and I love what I do day in and day out. And I feel like almost 2 decades into a profession, to say that I wake up and I get to do what I love every day is very special and unique.
Oh, that is such a blessing. So I assume, based on what you said, that every meteorologist has to have a degree in meteorology.
They do now. There was a time when it was not required. So you might, the days of old, they had weather anchors or weather casters, but now any incoming meteorologists are required to have a meteorology degree. And that was established probably 10, 15 years ago. So pretty much every meteorologist that you see on TV has a degree or a certificate. Well, we have to get some additional training, and we can get certificates of broadcast meteorology as well.
Okay. Well, now I know that you are not only the first, but you're the only chief meteorologist that we've ever had in Birmingham. What distinguishes a chief meteorologist from a meteorologist?
Yeah, so simply put, so I was the first female chief meteorologist in the state while I was in Montgomery, and became the first in Birmingham. I'm the only female chief meteorologist the city has ever had. And basically, the differentiating factor, I always tell people, it just means I'm on call 24/7. That's the biggest difference.
Oh, okay. So what does that look like?
So the reality is we just vision cast for our team. So the chief meteorologist is basically that staple person. We traditionally have the evening shifts, but most importantly, we kind of set the tone for what our weather team stands for. So that's kind of the big role of a chief meteorologist. They represent not only our station and our brand, but our team as well. And, but I will say I am super blessed to work with a fantastic team, and everyone is equally capable of doing severe weather coverage, of doing forecasting. I'm selfish, but I think I have some of the brightest minds in weather working on our team at CBS 42. And that makes my job easier, knowing that I have such a strong team. And that's what's really important to me. But kind of getting back to the chief part too, we're the person that you're going to see in severe weather. We're going to be the person that's that's holding your hand, that's walking you through minute by minute, hour by hour as storms are approaching. Anytime there's severe weather, we're the one that's going to be on TV with you, keeping you safe from the storm.
Right. Okay. Well, now that leads me to, I know you've got 4 beautiful children, you've got a husband, but when the weather is very, very dangerous, where do you have to be?
So I'm at the TV station, and it's kind of interesting. I was telling somebody recently that in my 17 years, I have never been home with my children during severe weather. And a lot of people kind of forget that, but I am super blessed that my husband, I know he's got everything under control at the house. We go through our weather preparedness plan anytime there's severe weather, and my children are very well aware of what they do, what I do, and they can watch mommy on TV. And we have some code words, like if I say a street name near where we live, or if I say a city where we're in, that's kind of a cue to my family. And I'm not opposed to calling my family out by name and saying, get in your safe place right now. If that threatens, because we actually have had severe weather close to our neighborhood before that has required that. So that's probably one of the challenges as a mother, is that I don't get to be there holding my kids while severe weather is going on. But I always tell my viewers, that's the type of chief meteorologist I am. I treat my viewers as though they're my family. Since I can't be with my family, giving them a hug and holding them, I am doing that to the entire Central Alabama viewing audience. So I just want people to know that that's the kind of person I am.
Yeah, your heart is in it. It's not just a job. Okay, now I have to ask this, because we've had some really bad tornado outbreaks over the last decade or so. Are you in a safe place? Is your studio underground?
Yeah, so that's a great question. We're actually built on the side of Red Mountain. And so to get into our studio, you have to go downstairs, and we're completely surrounded by concrete. We have a lot of safe places within our station. So in the event that we did have to kind of evacuate the studio, there are plenty of safe places close by that we can get to quickly.
Okay. Okay. Well, I am older than you, and you may not, I don't know how old you were when this happened, but the tornado outbreak, I was 9 years old. It's, I believe, the worst tornado outbreak in Alabama history. I want to say 250 people were killed. That put a respect and honestly a fear in me of tornadic weather. And I see how people maybe my age who lived through that as young children, and maybe were not nursed through that experience of seeing the aftermath, they have a lot of fear. And to have someone that they feel connected to and feel led by during a time that's fearful, that is a huge deal. It's not a small thing. So the fact that you do take it seriously, that you can, you speak with everyone personally, you feel like their family, that's a big deal, Ashley. Do you have any fear that compels you to have that kind of connection, or is it just a respect? I know Dallas, it's not really Tornado Alley, is it? But
yeah, well, they do have quite a bit. So Central and East Texas gets a lot of active weather. And what's interesting, and so this is kind of a surprising statistic, Alabama and portions of Mississippi and Tennessee are what's called Dixie Alley. And we actually see more tornadoes here than the Great Plains. It's just that the Great Plains sees larger tornadoes. So they don't have quite that we have, but we have on average, we have more, but they're on a smaller scale, which is interesting. It keeps us busy, because whether it's an EF0 tornado or an EF5 tornado, we're going to cover that storm just the same. So you might see our face a whole lot more. But to your point, I did grow up with a respect, very much a respect. But I will say one of the defining moments of really why I do what I do is April 27th, 2011. I was working in Montgomery at the time. I was the chief meteorologist there, but we ended up taking some live cameras that were supplied by some local stations in Birmingham. So we were using their sky cams essentially to show the tornadoes coming through Tuscaloosa. And I will never forget being on air, because at the time, even in Montgomery, there's a lot of families, their students, their children go to Alabama. So my boss said, hey, Tuscaloosa might be outside of our viewing area, but this is a big deal. Let's get on air. I remember seeing the tornado on the camera And I remember in my mind thinking, I know people are losing their lives. I stepped off camera for like 5 seconds and I just took a deep breath. It felt like an eternity. And when I got back on, it's almost like it was just I had a new reason why I was doing what I was doing. It was no longer just helping people understand what the weather was. It was trying to say, without saying on TV, hey, people are dying here, but essentially knowing that I am speaking to moms and dads and grandparents and families that could be broken the next day, and so it definitely changed my mentality on why I do what I do. It's not the TV, it's not the lights, it's not all of those things that people, like, oh, you're on TV, that's so cool. But I really genuinely believe that our job is a service, and it's a service to the public to get information to them quickly and efficiently. And it's life-saving information. And that was the day that did it for me. So that was really kind of when I made a pivot from just enjoying weather and being a person that just told the weather to really taking a valuable interest in connecting with people on a personal level.
Boy, I do remember. I remember that day, and there were lots of lives lost. So how did you, knowing what you knew that maybe had not registered with some people who were losing loved ones, how did you keep your composure?
The Lord, honestly, you really, really have to focus on what is my mission right now.
Mhm.
And it's kind of like, I realized what, police officers or EMT go through. I mean, firefighters, they have to be a calm in a storm, right? If your house is on fire, you're trying to run out of there, you're grabbing things, it's chaotic. But a firefighter comes in and they're calm, they're ready to take action. And that's kind of like what a meteorologist does in a severe weather moment. It's almost just like there is a switch that flips in our mind that says, okay, this is our mission. This is our job. We're going to stick to the task. I've got to help people. I've got to get them to safety. I've got to take away fear. I've got to make sure they're listening and that they are taking action and what could be potentially life-saving action. And that's where your mind has to go in those moments. And honestly, but I will say after that, it's kind of like this adrenaline rush, right? Because you're in this moment for so long. And then after the cameras go off, after the lights go down, and you finally get to breathe for the night, then it's like this overwhelming rush of emotion. So sometimes for us, it's like a delayed response emotionally, even though in the moment we have that composure because that's what we have to do to communicate clearly. But then afterwards, it's like it all catches up and you almost just need a day or two to decompress after all of that.
Yeah. Well, really, I mean, there are only how many chief meteorologists who would say be in your area? How many of y'all are there?
Well, there's only 4 in Birmingham. So
Okay.
each market has about 4. So based on how many stations they have. So about 3 or 4 chief meteorologists. So the leaders, I guess you would say, of our weather teams.
Okay. Okay. So do you all ever communicate across the station lines? Is there ever any of that?
We do. And funny enough, God has a sense of humor. There is a meteorologist here in town who has a child the same age as my son, and they happen to be in the same class together at school. And
Oh,
so we are covered. We always joke with the teacher, we are covered in weather situations here.
oh, I
So
love
what
it.
are the odds, right?
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, so it's fun. But I will say we actually do meet. And this actually was something that we learned after April 27th. So a lot of research went into the social science of why and how people respond to severe weather communication. And one of the things that came out of that research done with local meteorologists, the local National Weather Service, and the University of Alabama is that there needs to be consistent messaging. So after April 27th, we actually started meeting together so that the chief meteorologists out of Montgomery and Birmingham would meet together. And this was kind of pre-COVID days, but a couple times a year. And we would just make sure that our messaging was on point, that the colors on our graphics matched. And then that way, if someone's changing the channels and they see a tornado warning that's red on one station, but it's purple on another, it could be misleading, right? So we tried to do our job in creating some consistent messaging, especially during severe weather. And what's really neat about that is that concept has been modeled in other severe weather markets nationwide. So this isn't something that's just for us exclusively. But because of that, we definitely have a connection. And because most of the meteorologists in this town, we worked on April 27th, we share a unique bond in that sense. And I think that that's kind of our driving force. And really it helped to kind of soften. If you always say the stations are really the competitors, but us as meteorologists, we really have genuinely the same goal at the end of the day, and that's to save lives. And we kind of work better as a big unit, even if, and I always explain to people, choosing TV stations is like having a drink for dinner. So some people may want a sweet tea, some people might want a Coke, some people might want a water. You're still thirsty, but that's, your flavor of the night. So I always say, when we're doing severe weather coverage, ultimately our hearts are all in the same place. And we might show up on different TV stations on your TV, but ultimately we come from kind of the same place as far as that messaging. But because of that, we actually are friends off air, which is really cool. Not all markets are like that.
Oh, that's awesome. What is the most frightened you've ever been in your job? The closest you've ever been maybe to something really scary, which I would assume would be a tornado rather than hurricane. I mean, it's where we are.
Right. So tornadoes, definitely. I think for me, and this is crazy to say, I don't know if I've ever really been so much scared for my own safety as I get scared for other people. If I know a storm is coming to a neighborhood where I personally know people, where I go to church with people, or where I do life with people, that seems to take my breath away sometimes more. It gives me more of a knot in my stomach, more so than the threat that we've had. We've kind of dodged a little bit of a bullet at our TV station. More, we've had a couple of close calls, but more or less we've been largely protected. Now, I do have a couple meteorologists that have taken hits at their stations at other TV stations prior to their coming to Birmingham. So it's been interesting to hear their stories on what they did, how they had to get to their safe place, and if they were knocked off air and all of that. So that's been interesting. But like I said, for me, it's not so much the scare for me as much as when I personally know somebody. That's what's scary for me.
Right. I remember James Spann, his wife was at home, and I believe his house got hit.
Yes. And well, interestingly enough, both of ours did, but because he's the bigger name, it always,
yours got hit as well. Oh my goodness.
It was in the same path. I was at the end of my maternity leave. And so I knew the weather was going to be bad, but so I took all my kids to Atlanta where my mom lives. And my husband was at the house though, and we were getting some work done, and we had contractors there, and the storm was coming. I was telling him he needed to get in the basement. We have a storm shelter. Said, you need to get downstairs in our storm shelter. And we had some contractors that were eating lunch in the driveway, and he went and got them, brought them inside. And it took out all the trees in our backyard, but that was the beginning of the tornado. And then it ended kind of towards his neighborhood on the back end. So it was interesting too, that again, two meteorologists in the path of that storm.
Wow. Oh my goodness. And it's interesting to me that you have a storm shelter. Where I grew up in North Alabama, everyone had a storm shelter after that, the big event it was 1974. That's when it was. Okay. 1974. But down here in Birmingham, Central Alabama, it's not quite as common, but it's interesting. Did y'all specifically build a storm shelter as opposed to just using your basement? Because
it's actually in our basement. So it's a concrete reinforced room in our basement. So it's special, and it's got a metal door. So it is a special room, and there's no windows or anything like that. So that's for my peace of mind, because I'm not home with my kids during severe weathers. I want to make sure that they have a place to go if I can't be.
Well, can you just tell us how you balance a full-time job and motherhood? I know you do it well, but can you give some of your best tips?
Oh, you're so sweet. Well, first and foremost, having a team, the quote, "It takes a village," is so true. So I am very grateful. My husband is a great teammate, but I work unique hours. So I always tell people my day starts, it really starts in the morning, but I go into work at around 2:00 every afternoon. I work until 11:00 at night, Monday through Friday. So that's my standard schedule. Now, of course, if there's severe weather, I'm working longer hours and, all sorts of other things. But with that in mind, I I get my mornings free. So what I do in the mornings when my kids are off at school, that's my time to, manage the house, get things done for the kids' school, but I get to be involved in what my kids do in the morning. So it's nice. I can go and have lunch with a kid. I can go, volunteer at the school. So it's kind of nice to be able to have that flexibility and freedom in the morning. And then, of course, working in the afternoon. Organization is huge for us. My husband and I share schedules on our iPhone. That is like a game changer. And we just are very organized. Like Sundays, we'll go through our schedule for the week. Hey, here's what we've got going on. Here's days, we can do this. I can do this, pick up the kids here. So open communication about that, very organized with our schedules and sharing calendars and things like that. And then just at home, we try to simplify. I think one of the greatest tools that we could do is live a simple life. And I have realized when I clear out the clutter, it helps us lead more productive and efficient lives. And that has been a game changer. What was the Marie Kondo method, a couple ago that became kind of popular?
Yeah.
I totally embrace that, and we have lived that well. And it's been a game changer for us.
So how did you implement the Marie Kondo? Did you bring someone in or did you just do it yourself? I mean, that is a radical, I need to do it. I need to take out so much. I mean, we're in the middle of a renovation and I'm like, where did all this stuff come from that I'm moving from, inside to the pod? It's insane.
Right. So a little sidebar to that is, in addition to all of this, my husband and I flipped some houses. We lived in an RV a couple of years ago. And, but in the home flip process is when we started really thinning out our things. Right. And I came from this background of like, oh, just hold on to it. I might need this tissue paper for a gift for a year and a half from now. So I'm going to put this in a drawer in a guest bedroom somewhere. And then by the time I need it, I'm like, where is that? And then I could have just gone to Target and bought it for 99 cents, So I really started to just say, do I need it? Does it bring me joy? But in that, it's really helped our kids. We don't have a lot of toys for our kids per se, but we make sure the ones that we have, we say, you've got to take care of them, because if you don't take care of it, we're not going to get you a new one, So it has created a sense of ownership, even with the small things that we have versus having a lot of little things. And you kind of get numb to the stuff, right? And the next thing you know, you're buying more baskets and boxes to house the stuff. And then you're like, are my kids even playing with this? So we really had a kind of a come to Jesus moment with the things, but it's been life changing because we don't have as much to clean up at night. They know where their clothes go. I mean, this is really simple, but we did the rainbow thing with the kids' clothes where everything's red to purple, in there, but it's great. Even my 3-year-old knows where things go. She can hang up a red shirt and she knows where it goes in her closet because it's where the red shirts go. So it's just really simple things like that we started to implement. And, everything needs its place. We're not perfect at it, but I also love a label maker. So we've labeled things, even in their closets, like the shorts go here, your socks go here, swimsuits go here. So even my, with 4 kids, somebody's got to help, so it's like the older kids, as they can read, they can put things back where they go. They go, okay, I know my swimsuits go in this box right here. Boom, done.
I love that. I'm very motivated by that because it is life-changing. I brought someone in who helped me do that and showed the label maker, and it lasted, but you've got to keep that up. And I did not. So now how do you manage all of the meals? I know you're a good cook. We've talked before and I can tell you're a good cook, but how do you structure that where it's seamless with all that you have going on?
Now, I'm not probably the best person to ask about this here because my weeks ebb and flow dramatically. Some weeks I'll have the crock pot meals on Sunday. I'll have all of the food prep for the week. And then other weeks I'm like, did we go to Costco and buy that tray of Alfredo that we can pop in the oven tonight?
Oh, we all do that. That's normal. That's normal.
So honestly, my kids are great. They don't mind eating the same things a couple nights in a row. So that has made life easy. So we have a very consistent menu. I will say one of the game changers for us is we have found a subscription meal service for the children, and we use that, and it comes with a tray. It has whole foods, grains, protein, and we just nuke it. It's got everything in one plate. I don't even have to cook anything.
What is it,
And the
Ashley?
kids, it's called Little Spoon.
Oh my goodness, Little Spoon, and it's online.
Yes, and it's been great. So that's actually what we use for the kids now. And kind of depending on my week, I bring salads, but I do a lot of Costco. Just
Mhm.
buy a big bag of Caesar salad, fix that, for me for the
Yeah.
week. My husband and I work out at Iron Tribe, but we're
Yeah.
really trying to up our protein. So we'll do a big crock pot of chicken and beans on Sunday, and then we'll just scoop out some rice and beans during the week, and we'll just take that. I generally try to just eat a sandwich at home so fortunately, I'm at home during the day. We do
Mhm.
not do a lot of cooking during the week. We just do not have the bandwidth
Mhm.
for it between
Yeah.
sports and everything else.
Yeah.
So if we do a big crock pot meal on Sunday, we can divvy that out through the week. But the little spoon meals have been a game changer for us.
Okay, I'm going to link to that for all
Yeah.
who are watching and listening. And then, if you have any kind of discount code or any code,
Well, I can get one. Yeah, I can reach out to them and I can get one for your
Yeah.
listeners.
Well, because often when you share, you'll get maybe some little perks.
Yeah.
So that would be fun. Okay, can you just tell us, and I know you've got a tight schedule, but can you just give us a little peek at the business that you and your husband have of flipping homes? And do you help others do that? Or if someone local might want help with that, or do you provide services or
Yeah.
advice or consulting?
Well, not yet, but we could. We have just found it to be something that we're adding. So this is kind of a long-term plan for us, and we are using this opportunity kind of a multifold. One, it started out as just we needed to remodel a house that we were in, and we sold the house, and we rolled that into the next one. We thought, well, this is kind of fun. So it's really my passion project because I love to be creative, but I don't always get to be very creative in a forecasting job. I'm telling people what the weather is. It does what it does. I
Yeah.
don't get to invent the weather, right?
Yeah.
So when I get to flip houses, I just get to be creative. I'm not saying I'm great at it, and I always lean on some wonderful designers that are way smarter and more talented than I am to get me. I can always get down to like my 3 favorite tiles, but then I'm like, I don't know where to go from here,
Yeah.
So I've got
Yeah.
those people in my circle that can say, okay, you need to go with this and this paint color. Okay, good.
Yeah.
So all that to say, we did that a few times. It was really good for us. And then what we do is we roll that into a college fund for our kids, but we're holding on to some of the houses, and we've done some short-term rentals, and we are teaching our kids financial literacy through that. So it's really kind of a real life application. And that was really our goal. We never intended on it being bigger than what it was, but we've enjoyed the process. And so now we're kind of dipping our toe more into that space. So we don't necessarily consult, but we're happy to tell people what we've learned, mistakes we've made, things we've done right, things we've done wrong. And we're happy to connect with others in that space as well. So it's been a good learning lesson for us. It's been a good way for us to tuck away some money for our kids' college and their future, but also it's something very hands-on where they can understand the value of money. They can understand real estate. And my husband and I kind of joke, like, as well intended as our parents were, I feel like their goal for us growing up was like, we just want to be able to help you pay for college. And then we got out of college and we didn't know what a mortgage was. We didn't know what interest rates were. We didn't have the financial literacy for a 401k. And so we kind of felt like we kind of drug our feet through our 20s trying to figure it all out. But anyway, so that's kind of how all of this came about. And but we love it. Like I said, it's kind of our passion project. Of course, my husband owns his own business, and we actually co-own another business together, and he runs that, and it's sweet.
Do you mind sharing what that business is?
Yeah, so it's called 101 Mobility, and we help people gain independence in their homes. So whether people are aging in place or have disabilities, we provide stair lifts, ramps, elevators, vertical platform lifts. But it's to help people have that independence in their home, getting from point A to point B. And it's been the sweetest opportunity that came to us several years ago, unbeknownst to us. And we just had some of the best customers that we've been able to serve, and heard some of the sweetest stories. Like, for example, recently we put in a stair lift at a lady's house from her first floor to her second floor. And when we finished installing it, she looked at our installers with tears in her eyes and she goes, I haven't been upstairs in 2 years since my husband's died. Like, she hadn't even seen the bedrooms upstairs, and this allowed her accessibility to that. So I'm like, this is why we do what we do. So that's also a sweet part. And it's a family owned business. We've been able to hire our family members and other folks, and it's grown, and it's actually statewide. So we service the entire state of Alabama from Huntsville to Mobile.
Oh, I love that. And I will share a link to that. That is wonderful,
Yeah.
because I would assume that you help a lot of people avoid having to, or delay having to go to assisted living, or.
Yes. And that's the goal.
My goodness, that is wonderful.
Yeah.
So your husband runs that full time, and then you do the houses, and you're doing the, wow, y'all are one talented family. Y'all are busy. And then you're always at exercise. I don't know how you do it all. I have all kinds of excuses. I'm not that busy.
Well, this is why I'm in my car. I feel like I live half my life in my car.
Well, you are so sweet, because I know how busy you are, and I've taken up almost 45 minutes of your time. But
oh, this has been sweet. I've loved this.
You are just the sweetest, the cutest, and the smartest girl on the block. I'm telling you. And I just know that everyone who has not become acquainted with you is going to enjoy this episode. And I will link to all of your social media and anything else that you've mentioned, and then Little Spoon and 101 Mobility. But Ashley, is there anything else you'd like to end on? Anything you would like to say about yourself, or anything before we go?
I just want to say thank you for giving me this opportunity. And secondly, for those in the market who may not, because I know that your podcast and your YouTube is far reaching. And I just want to encourage people out there to live their lives with intention. I think at the end of the day, it may sound like my husband and I have this busy list of things we do, but our biggest goal is to live every minute with intention. We want to love our communities well. We want to love our children well. We want to point them to Christ in all that we do. And that's really what we feel like our mission here on earth is. All of our vocation are the things that we get to do on this side of eternity. But through all of that, our hope is that we are the light in this dark world. So all of this is just pointing us all to one thing at the end. And my hope and prayer for everyone listening and watching is that they know that they've got a Savior that loves them. And if you don't know about them, send me a message and I'll tell you about them. But
I love you. You're wonderful. That's fabulous. And you do that very well. You are a light, and I appreciate you. And I thank you for being on today. And I thank all of you watching and listening. And you can find everything we mentioned, all the details, in the show notes. Ashley, I hope to see you soon. I guess I'll see you at the gym.
Sounds great.
Thank you, my friend. You take care.